Today, I'm going to be talking about the biggest lie that was told to me when I was younger on YouTube. That lie being that college isn't necessary to become a millionaire, to make a lot of money. Now, with the answer I'm going to give, there is room for nuance, there is room for debate. But for the most part, I want to dispel the notion that people think college is a waste of money. It's not a waste of money, and I'm going to show you exactly why it's not a waste of money and how college actually helps most people. So, number one, the reality of America is that 88% of millionaires in the US have a college degree. What that college degree is in varies. What people choose to study varies. But 88% of people having one thing in common in a pretty small sample size is a significant number, and it shouldn't just be dispelled or, kind of cast at the wayside. This means that if you want to be part of the majority in a certain group, you probably need to have one thing in common with everybody else, that being a college degree. So if you don't have a college degree, you're only going to succeed about 12% of the time in becoming a millionaire. You're already putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. Even if you get an associate's, you'll be part of this 88%, and it'll likely be easier for you. And this has a lot of importance to it. This has a lot of significance in the way that online, it's not portrayed that most millionaires went to college. It's definitely portrayed that most millionaires are self-made, and that's not the truth. Now, whatever self-made means to you is one thing or another. But the next statistic I want to show you is that about 8% of millionaires are under 30 in the United States. What this tells me is that most of the general population is likely older and had a lot of time to compound wealth. That is significant. That is a huge thing, because compounding is usually the main way that people make money. Compound interest, compound investing. That's usually how most people gain their wealth. So that's already going to dispel, and that's already going to show you that 90% of the kids you see flexing on TikTok, they're not actually millionaires. More than likely not. They're just trying to sell you some sort of scam, and they're still well on their way of being a millionaire. Ironically, those kids are probably in debt most of the time. And, as much as that sucks, and as much as you want to believe you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 30, it's probably not going to happen for you, unfortunately. So, I want to tell you some harsh truths that you're probably going to have to accept when you're on your way to making a lot of money. Number one being, if you want to be self-made, you can't be an idiot. And by be an idiot, I mean you can't just go out there, start a business, and then make a lot of money. If you're 18 coming out of high school, your base of knowledge with money is probably here. It's at zero. You don't know shit about finance. You don't know anything because the American school system, on average, doesn't teach you that in school that's not secondary like college. In your primary education, they usually don't teach things like this. So you're probably not going to have any kind of knowledge base when it comes to money. And unless you have someone in your family who's extremely rich, which if you want to be self-made, probably you won't be self-made, then you're probably going to need to learn a lot of the things you have to understand either from other people or in school. You can't be stupid. Millionaires are millionaires not because they're lucky. It sometimes has to do with luck, but for the most part, it's because they did one consistent thing and they got a little bit better every single day. That's how you make money. You compound your skills, and your wealth will compound over time. Next, making lots of money usually takes a lot of time. I know you see the rappers who become famous at like 19, 20, but let me tell you, a lot of those rappers have been rapping since they were like 8 years old, 6 years old. That is not what they like to portray. A lot of rappers like to portray this fast money lifestyle, which is fine and dandy if you're trying to promote a certain lifestyle, but it's not realistic. A lot of these rappers started rapping before they could even talk, before they could even form real coherent sentences. And that's significant. That's huge, especially when you're trying to consider making a lot of money. It takes a lot of time to build a skill. There's books on this specific subject, like, for example, how Bill Gates' school was one of the only ones in that area, or even high schools in general, that was picked to have a computer in the first place. And Bill Gates is a bit on the spectrum, so he read the entire manual because it was so new and interesting to him. So he got a lot more practice before anybody else did. And when he wanted to create his own OS, his own operating system, he had way more experience than anyone else around him because he had years to learn. So if you haven't started a business before you're 18, when you do start your first one, you're going to be behind the kid that was selling candy bars in middle school. That's real, by the way. That is a real fact. That is your real reality. That is what's probably the honest truth. So once you understand that the little experience that you need to succeed, more than likely not, you're probably going to have to learn a lot for business, and it's going to take a lot of time. You're not going to be an expert right away. Rarely will that happen. You're not going to succeed on your first business, on your first try, on your first attempt. It's not going to happen. You're probably going to succeed on your third, fourth, fifth, sixth attempt. And that is another harsh truth you have to accept, and it takes years to learn something. College speeds up this process immensely. I'm not college's biggest fan, but I do support the notion of going to school and learning something that is valuable to you. Lastly, there's a smart and a dumb way in going to school and going to college. So what does that mean? People who go to college and they kind of spend a lot of their time not just partying. I'm not going to just hate on these kids who go out and party and shit, but a lot of the kids who take forever to pick their major, take forever to make a decision when it comes to a major, and they just spend a lot of their money, their own money half the time. If they spend a lot of their own money half the time just switching from major to major to major, they're not going to make any significant progress, and likely they're not going to get the degree they need to become the person that they want or even get the job that they want. So what I'd recommend, if you don't have a scholarship, try to get one. Try to apply for grants. Look online. Learn how to do this. You can hire people on Fiverr to apply for more grants than you could even think of. That's a real thing. And if you don't have any of that, go to community college and excel. Do amazing. And then you'll be able to go to a more prestigious university that you want to go to, and then have the ability to not pay for everything out of your own pocket. If you have rich parents, use their money. I'm telling you, try to avoid debt at all costs and start a project while you're there. You have a lot of free time. Partying is fine and great. You can do it once a week. Doing it 3 or 4 times a week is not good. Don't do that. Do that in moderation, but try to grow and try to develop. That's what college is all about. College isn't about just partying. College is about discovering yourself and who you are and who you want to be and building the life that you want. So start doing those things early. Just start building what you want in the future, or what you think you want. That's the smartest way to go about it. If you're just going to go to school, get a random degree, and accrue $100,000 in debt, and then go into a field that has nothing to do with the degree you got, you went to college the stupid way. You're in debt for no reason. You could have done what you did in college for free with a full-time job, and you would have been better off. That's stupid. That's ignorant. You need to actually look at your life critically, and don't just listen to the person who is telling you which class to go to, what you should do, without considering what you want for your life in the future. That's pretty much it. If you like what you saw, subscribe, and thanks.